Each of us has a torch, a passion burning inside that ignites our motivation. When it's fed, the fire spreads and helps those around us keep their own torches shining bright. Our combined light can keep any monster at bay. We bring together people from around the world, sparks of light and glowing embers with enlightening stories of kindness, success, and overcoming adversity, fanning the flames of love, compassion, and positivity, sharing their light to help those struggling in darkness. I'm John Verico, and this is Share Your Fire. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Share Your Fire. And I have got the most amazing guest in the world with me right now. You know, and you're going to hear me say this a lot because I really love the people that I bring onto the show. But today's guest, I've had the opportunity to meet him a couple of times. We've worked together on a couple of projects, and he's just one of the most amazing, heart-centered individuals that I've ever come across. So please meet Ken Hill. Ken, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, John?
I'm doing outstanding because I get to talk to you, my friend. It's been a while since we've really had a chance to chat, and I'm really glad that we're able to do this. Now, Ken, you have in your background a bunch of trophies and awards and all kinds of stuff, and this is for martial arts, and you have been a martial arts instructor for quite a while, but you kind of overcame some real incredible odds and obstacles in order to do this. So please share with our listeners a little bit about your background and how you got into becoming a martial arts instructor, but then we're going to go into the real heart of what's going on here.
Oh, okay. Great. Thank you. When I was 9 is when I began martial arts. I was inspired by the movie Enter the Dragon starring Bruce Lee. As soon as I saw that, my dad, who was a law enforcement officer, I said, "Dad, I want to do that." And he said, "There's no school like that around here, but we'll see if we can find you something if you make 2 promises. 1, you only use it in self-defense, and 2, you don't become a bully." The reason why my dad said that is because I was already bullied since the age of 6. And he didn't want me to seek revenge on anyone. So I made the promise, and that's where my journey started. When I was 22, it almost came to an end. I was a competitive fighter. I had constant injuries to my ankles, and there not one but 4 doctors said, you need to stop martial arts and have surgery on both ankles. And they said, if you do that, you'll be confined to a wheelchair by the age of 35. But if you don't, it'll be sooner.
Whoa.
That was a lot to take in. I told all 4 of those doctors no. I didn't know why at the time, but what came back to me was something my mom said. She said, "I don't care if there's 100 people in the room and they're all against you, you stand your ground for what you believe." I was glad I made that decision, because close to a decade later, it was discovered that I was born with a hereditary neuropathy called Charcot-Marie Tooth Disease, or CMT. Isn't that a mouthful?
Oh my God. Say that again.
Charcot-Marie Tooth Disease. Now, most people, as soon as you hear tooth, you think it's something hygienic. but it's actually a neuropathy that affects my muscles, mostly in my hands, my feet, my legs, and my arms.
Oh, yeah, just minor details.
Yeah. So like today, like buttoning the shirt, if without this little device I have, it would take me 20 minutes to button a shirt because I have no fine motor skills. So I
never know this about you, man.
Yeah, I have to visually focus on what my hands are doing when I'm doing certain tasks, or my hands will naturally just relax, and whatever I'm holding just comes out.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And I was a volunteer firefighter, and I was asked to be an EMT, and I said no, and they said, "Why?" I said, "Because I didn't know at the time it was from this neuropathy." I said, "I'll declare everyone dead." And of course they're like, "Well, why would you do that?" I said if I hit my fingers on a hard surface, it's like electricity shooting through my entire arm, but I can't feel a pulse.
Oh,
So
Ken,
that's
I'm learning such details about what you've been going through. I mean, I knew you went through some stuff, but and really had to overcome in order to stay with your focus and your vision and your dream. But wow,
yeah, and the same with my legs. I mean, my feet. I'm supposed to lose acceleration to, well, the sensitivity is supposed to digress going towards my feet. It actually is accelerated. So if I walk around barefoot and I step on something as small as a pebble, it's like electricity shooting through my veins and through my leg all the way up through my hips. But I can break boards and bricks with my feet and it doesn't hurt.
I was just going to ask about that. What happens when you make contact when you're doing your karate stuff? Or
Long as I go through, it's fine.
so it's stopping at the.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So yeah, don't get in the way, because if this guy goes to punch you, he's punching through.
Yes. Well, we're supposed to do that anyway,
So,
even if
I was
you
going
don't
to say,
have an
isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. So you've been fighting this, battling this your whole life,
Yes.
and yet you then moved into championship levels, and you are a black belt. And what level now are you?
I have 5 of them. I have a 7th degree in U.S.
You
Hapkido.
underachiever, you.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a 7th degree in U.S. Hapkido, a 7th degree in U.S. Taekwondo. I have a 2nd degree in American Freestyle Hapkido, and a 2nd degree in International Tung Sudo. And then I have a 1st degree in World Tung Sudo Federation South Korea. So I'm certified through them as well.
And so you didn't just do this for yourself, because you passed this on.
Yeah, I learned, people always talk about, their triumphs, during those good times. Mine came because of the bad times. It's like I didn't know I had certain gifts until bad things happened and I was tested. And because I've done what I've done, which is just stay active in martial arts, I haven't had any surgeries and I don't take any medications. And my neurology team, they just scratched their head because they're like, we don't understand you.
So it's always good to perplex the medical community in a positive way.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I realize they try to prove everything through science, and I respect that. But when they can't, then that kind of fascinates them, because I've been part of a study for the last 3 years to develop a physical training program for people with CMT or anyone that has, any kind of difficulties like I have. And it's been an honor to be studied in that way, because they know I won't take medication. So, if I can help in other ways, I will.
That's amazing. See, I've had doctors say to me, I've never seen that before, and it was always a bad thing. It's so wonderful to see that on the other side. Yeah, it's good to perplex the medical community from that perspective. That is, well, your strength and determination is just so incredibly inspiring, and I've always admired that about you. And we first met in getting involved in the Art of Connection book series, and that's how we connected, and that's how I started to learn about you. And I remember the first time you introduced yourself, when you talked about the work that you were doing as a martial arts instructor, among other things, but primarily from that perspective, you said that you work with children with special needs as your principal students. And I was like, wow, you're taking that to a whole other level. And one of the things that I remember that you said was that you focus on what you can do, not on what people told you can't do. And that was such an eye-opener for me, and really showed me the kind of heart and soul that you are. So let's talk a little bit about your work in this realm and how that evolved.
Well, in 2012, an instructor that I've known for more than a decade, he had his own school. and he's a child behavior specialist, and most of his students were his patients. So when the other Hapkido school that I was at, he said, for all of us to come over, and I did, and I fell in love with that school because just to see the students that he had just kind of work through as best as they could whatever they were dealing with was just, inspiring for me. My oldest daughter's autistic, and I learned so much just from raising her. And I was at the school for 8 years until it closed during the pandemic in 2020. And the parents said, you don't have the degrees on the wall for education like the owner does. How did you get so good with our kids? And I said, I learned from my daughter to treat everyone as an individual. It didn't matter if there were 10 ADHD kids on the floor, they're all unique. And I learned how to teach them in a customized way for them to get the best understanding and make the best gains that way. And they also were never left behind. So even if they were not doing it the same way as the student next to them, they were doing it to the best of their ability, and they learned they can be just as effective doing it their way as the other student was doing it their way.
And that is, first of all, the patience, but also the ability to do that. And that is just a remarkable sign of a good teacher in any way, shape, or form, because you can learn how to focus on an individual. Everybody learns in a different way. And we still generalize, But to be able to isolate down to the individual, especially when individuals have certain special needs, special requirements, or special types of attention that they need. And being able to zero in on that is just a remarkable talent.
Yeah, I learned a lot being there, and the team of instructors, I learned from them, because for the first 2 years, I wouldn't teach a class. I just assisted because I wanted to learn their program. When I was given my night became so popular, students were actually banned from coming because there were just too many on the floor. and that's because they never saw the kind of approach that I have, where one of the things we used to do is what I call the fishbowl training. I actually have little pieces of paper that have every technique on individual piece of paper folded up in this fishbowl from white belt to second degree black belt. And I have a night where everyone comes in, and the new students are always the most surprised, and we all take our belts off and hang them on the railing. And I let them know we're all the same rank. Whatever comes out of that bowl, we all do it.
Oh, wow.
The one night that was really special, this young lady, we called her Tigress. That was her nickname, because everybody had nicknames. She comes on, and she actually picks the little piece of paper out, unfolds it, says 100 push-ups. She said, I can't do that. And I said, well, why not? And she said, because my belt only requires 55, and so I can't do that. And I said, okay. And she still had her belt on. So I said, I want you to do the same thing we did and just put your belt on the wall. She goes, why? I said, I'll explain it. I said, but don't put that piece of paper back in the bowl. Just put it on the floor. I need you to hang your belt on the side and come back. So she does. I said, pick up the piece of paper. Don't let it go. Put your hand back in the bowl and then take it out and read what's on it. She goes, that doesn't make any sense. I said, no. I said, you'll understand. So she does it. She goes, it still says 100. I don't know if you thought it was going to change. And
I love her attitude already.
Oh, yeah. She was fire. And I said, so what are we doing, class? And they're all smiling because they know, they've been in there before for months. They understood what I was doing. It's like, we're all doing 100 push-ups. What I did is I got on the floor next to her, and I said, we're going to do it at your pace. It's not a time limit. I said, you're just going to do 100 before we move on. As the students were finishing their 100, they asked, what number are you on? And they would start lining up next to her and around her. Next day, by the end of the 100, she was in a circle where all the students finished with her.
Wow.
She was in tears. Her mom was in tears. And I said, so, what did you say earlier? She goes, I can do 100 push-ups. I said, you know why you thought that? She goes, why? I said, because you never tried.
That is an amazing story. And, dude, I'm going to have to come to your class because I want to get back in shape to where I can do 100 push-ups again. I used to be able to do 100 push-ups. I can't.
Right.
I won't say I can't do that now.
Right.
I will just say it's highly unlikely.
Yeah. No, I get it. I don't do 100 push-ups in a set anymore either, but I can do 100 push-ups.
That's amazing. Well, I can too. It just take me 100 days. Nobody said there was a time limit.
That's true.
I should have tried that when I was in the Navy and had to do the PT course.
Right. Yeah.
You want me to run? You want me to run a couple of miles? Sure, I'll do that. I'll run 100 yards today, 100 yards tomorrow. By the end of the week, I got you covered.
Yeah. You probably would have got everyone else in trouble.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Well, when I joined the Navy and they said, you got to run a mile and a half, and I was like, why? The ship's not that long. Oh, gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, so now you do some other neat things with pieces of paper too. I remember you had something where you told somebody to write down their trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. For every new student, I have them come on the floor, and I always say, raise your hand if you're a new student. And all the other ones that are veterans, they all smile. And I tell them, I said, hold up your hand that you write with as if you're holding a pen. Hold out the other hand like a piece of paper. In 60 seconds, write down everything you're afraid of. And of course, they're like, why? I was like, I'll tell you in 61 seconds. So they all do it, and then when they're done, I say, follow me to the door. And we go to the door, and I say, take that hand that has the paper in and ball it up, drop it outside. You can pick that up when you leave, but for now, come in, let's see what you can do. It just takes the anxiety out of the room, and they learn that they don't have to be like anyone else as far as ability, strength, or anything else. They can just be themselves, and then that's how we get to know one another from the beginning.
And that's absolutely amazing. And so it's one of the things that I feel strongly with and relate to as well, is that we have a tendency in life and in our society to always compare ourselves to other people. And when we do that, we invariably will find ourselves lacking in some capacity. We may think we're better than some other people in some things. And once we realize that we are all the same, you're not less than anybody else and you're not more than anybody else, that really that creates a whole new playing field.
Well, one of the things I emphasize, because I was that kid, not just, how my daughter was, where she struggles with certain things. I was a lot of the kids that I teach, where I was trying to fit in and do things the way everyone else did. And I've learned being different doesn't mean less than. Ooh. And once these kids learn...
That's quotable right there.
Well, that's actually one of the quotes that's a part of the new chapter that I'm developing. Because so many people think that they have to be like someone else in order to have the same value, not realizing their value oftentimes exceeds the person they're trying to be like.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Now, you said the chapter you're writing, is that for the new, is that for the magazine article that is coming, or is that part of the Art of Connection book series?
Well, it could be for both, but it's actually for, the foundation I just developed. Well,
here we go. Now we get into the crux of this, and let's talk about how your work with the students and in these schools as a martial arts instructor, how that has gotten you to the hidden strength movement.
Yeah, I had to have someone say it to me because, I wasn't able to say it to myself. That they said, no, you've been a coach all these years. Why aren't you doing more of that? And I said, no, I'm a teacher. And they said, no, you don't understand. You're also a coach. We know you're a teacher, but you're a coach. And I said, no, I give instructions. They said, no, you don't understand. You have this way of helping people to work through things. Yeah. And you know why you got so good at it? And I'm like, why? It's like, because that's who you are.
Yeah.
But here's an advantage that you can give them. It's like, what's that? You felt alone. because you were. No one could explain what was going on with you, and you couldn't explain it. But now that you know how to help them to understand themselves, you can give them a head start on getting through life and getting ahead on things that they never thought they could, and even having the courage to try things they never thought they could. And he said, that's what a coach does.
Yeah.
You've been doing it all this time. So I'm actually in the development of an online program now to finally start coaching.
That is amazing. Well, no, because you have been coaching.
Right.
You're just finally doing it with that title.
Yes.
And in that perspective. But you really have been doing it all along.
Yeah, and I didn't realize it because I used to tell people my journey isn't so special. And someone you may know the name is Jesse Bowen.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a grandmaster, what they call him a Hanshi. He's down in North Carolina. He actually nominated me for my second Hall of Fame induction. And that was my first time meeting him. And he said, you should write. And I said, why? He goes, because people need to know about your life. I said, look, when I was in 12th grade, I remember my teacher, Miss Catman. She had me go in front of the class, and we had to give a speech, and every time I choked. Most of the time I said nothing. Every assignment I got an F. I finally got out of class, and before I left, I said, I don't know why you're having me do this. I'll never talk about my life ever in front of a group of people. Well, she saw something in 12th grade that I didn't know about myself. But Jesse Bowen had a phrase that really made me want to not only write but also speak. He said, the cemetery is full of great stories. Don't let yours be one of them.
Isn't that brilliant? That is, and it's so amazingly true. That's where Share Your Fire comes from, by the way. Not from Jesse Bowen in particular, but for the concept of, there are so many stories that need to be shared out there. And those stories are stories of motivation and our passion and the fire that burns inside of us. And that if we don't share that fire goes out. And once we're gone, it's gone. So we need to pass that energy on. And that's the whole foundational reason why I started this podcast.
It's great, and I'm glad that you did. I feel honored to be invited here today because I don't feel comfortable speaking in general, but I've always felt like family since we met. So I was honored when you asked me, to come on and be a part of this. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely, and I have to say, I do not apologize for also putting you in the uncomfortable position. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar, we are both authors or contributing authors in the Art of Connection book series. In the Art of Connection, 365 Days of Abundance Quotes, and the following year, the 2026 version was the Art of Connection, 365 Days of Resilience Quotes. And we did a joint book signing in York, Pennsylvania. We got a bunch of the relatively local authors to come together who've been contributing in this book series. And Ken was there. And then what I did was, without telling him in advance, I set up a little microphone and a speaker, and I had everybody come up and read their page. And so Ken was forced to come and read his page aloud in front of the group of attendees there. And it was a nice group. First of all, we had 20 of our authors were there, and then we had a good couple dozen additional people there for the book signing who were sitting there listening to the readings of the pages. And I got a dirty look from Ken, and I'm just glad he didn't decide to use any of his martial arts movements on me when I forced him to come up and read his page.
Well, when I was a firefighter and the chief used to ask me to do things, my response was usually on purpose. And he's like, on purpose, get over here,
That's exactly it. Exactly it. But you did wonderfully well. I mean, everything was great. And you speak well, Ken, which is why, I wanted you to be out here and to share your story. And I'm really glad. I'm honored that you accepted my invitation to be on this show. I do want to want to have the opportunity for you to tell people how to get in touch with you and how to follow what is happening with the Hidden Strength movement. And let's actually talk a little bit about that while we have some more time.
Okay, well, I mean, the easiest way is through email with me. Ken Hill Jr. Well, it's Ken with two N's, HILLJR at gmail.com. And the Hidden Strength movement is I'm still developing it. I actually started a Facebook page and I just made an intro, but I haven't put any, much content on there yet, but that's also being developed. And I'm going to be when I launch my program, I'm actually going to start it with something that's called Tiny Challenges, where for 5 days, I would just get together with people and we would talk about different things for 5 days. I already have everything laid out. I don't want to say too much about it right now. And then, go from there. And I'm really excited about it and also nervous because, when I feel like the spotlight is on me, sometimes I get nervous. I'm that one that you have to push out onto the stage because I had that butterfly to bat syndrome where, I have butterflies and then you call my name and they turn into screeching bats and and then but once I get going, I'm fine. So that's something that I'm still working through even after all this time. But, I was reminded the other day by a friend of mine. They said, you know what? I can remember when you said that the biggest thing you wanted to do was be able to walk and practice martial arts by the age of 35. And he said, look at you now, because I'm 61 years old now. He said, not only are you still practicing, you're doing martial arts and you're helping others and you're still walking. It's like, you need to talk. And I was like, I am. So, they were happy to hear that I'm talking more and more about my journey.
And it is a journey that other people need to know about and need to feel and need to be inspired by. And that's why I asked you to come out here and be on the show. And this has been a remarkable conversation. And Ken, if there's anything else that we can do to help support this, I want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you so that we can get people to realize the importance of what you're doing, but also to benefit from what you're doing and to get involved in the Hidden Strength movement. It's been a remarkable conversation, and all I can do is just say thank you again for being brave enough to come out here on the show.
Well, thank you, and like I said, it's been an honor for me. So thank you for having me.
Ken, thanks a lot. And folks, keep listening to the Share Your Fire podcast. We will have lots more guests coming up in the future as we continue this show. Ken has been a remarkable guest. Please reach out to him at Ken with two N's, Ken Hill Jr. at gmail.com. Look for information on the Hidden Strength movement on Facebook and get ready for tiny challenges that are coming up. It'll help us all to improve, to look at ourselves a little bit differently, stop comparing ourselves to others, and realize that we can do so many things that we thought we couldn't. Stop telling yourself you can't do stuff and just do it. Ken, thank you again.
Sure. It's been a pleasure.